Sabrina Ionescu just got destroyed by a high school player, and the WNBA is in full panic mode trying to bury this story. You have seen the headlines about the WNBA seeking higher pay, charter flights, and respect on the global stage. But there is one video clip floating around the dark corners of the internet right now that threatens to tear that entire narrative down to the studs. We are talking about the face of the New York Liberty, the woman with the signature Nike shoe, the shooter who stepped up to Stephen Curry at All-Star Weekend, getting absolutely locked up, stripped, and embarrassed by an amateur player during a promotional tour. If you look closely at the footage, which we are going to break down frame by frame, you will see something that the league office is terrified of. This isn't just a bad day at the office. This is an exposure of the gap between the marketing machine and the on-court reality. The media has gone silent on this. You won't see this on the front page of ESPN. You won't hear the usual pundits discussing what this means for the talent evaluation in the women's game. But we have the receipts. We have the fan reactions that are being scrubbed from comment sections. And we are going to ask the uncomfortable question that everyone else is dodging. If the best player on the best team can't score on a teenager, what are we really paying for? Let's look at the crime scene. The setting is Manila, Philippines. It is supposed to be a standard Nike promotional tour. These events are usually scripted to make the stars look like gods among mortals. You walk in, you wave to the fans, you hit a few lazy jumpers, maybe you sign some shoes and you leave. But someone forgot to tell the defender that he was supposed to let Sabrina win. In the clip that is currently setting social media on fire, we see Sabrina Ionescu isolating at the top of the key. She goes into her bag, she tries the crossover, she tries to create separation, and the defender, a local amateur player, does not bite. He sits in a stance, he mirrors her movement, and when she tries to expose the ball for a pull-up, he swipes it clean. It is not just a strip, it is a dominance of athleticism. He takes the ball, and the crowd, which was there to cheer for the WNBA superstar, lets out that collective gasp that you only hear when a hierarchy has been toppled. But it gets worse. She tries again. She tries to back him down using her professional strength against a kid. He holds his ground. She goes up for a shot, and he swats it. This isn't a lucky play. This is a fundamental mismatch in athleticism that the cameras were never supposed to capture. This moment matters because of who Sabrina Ionescu was supposed to be. To understand the panic, we have to go back to the University of Oregon. This is where the legend was built. Sabrina was the triple-double queen. She was the one who transcended the women's game and brought out the celebrities. Kobe Bryant sat courtside. LeBron James tweeted about her. She was marketed not just as a great female player, but as a basketball savant who could hold her own anywhere. That was the brand. If you can shoot, they said. The narrative was that skill conquers all. She was the chosen one who would lead the WNBA into a new era of profitability and respect. When she was drafted #1 overall by the New York Liberty, it wasn't just a draft pick, it was a coronation. She was given the keys to the biggest media market in the world. She was given the signature shoe deal with Nike, the Sabrina ones, which were marketed heavily to both boys and girls. The premise of her entire career is that her skill level is so high, it neutralizes the athletic differences. That is why this video from the Philippines is so damaging. It attacks the core of the product. When you watch the footage again, look at the body language of the people around the court. There is an awkwardness. The handlers know this is going off the rails. You can see a Nike rep in the background glancing around, probably wondering if they can cut the feed. This is the soap opera element that we love. It is the clash between the carefully curated image and the raw, unfiltered reality of basketball. In a controlled environment, Sabrina looks like Steph Curry, but in this raw, chaotic one-on-one setting against a hungry amateur who wants a scalp, she looked pedestrian. And that is the word that scares the WNBA more than anything else, pedestrian. The league sells elitism. They sell the idea that these are the 144 best players in the world, operating at a level that you, the viewer, could never dream of reaching. When a high schooler or an amateur walks in off the street and clamps the face of the league, it breaks the fourth wall. It makes the paying customer wonder if the product on the floor is actually as elite as the price of the ticket suggests. Now let's talk about the cover-up. If this had happened to an NBA player, if LeBron James got clamped by a high schooler, or if Jason Tatum got stripped by a random fan in a gym, it would be the lead story on every sports show in America. Skip Bayless would do 20 minutes on it. Stephen A. Smith would be screaming about his legacy. It would be a meme format for the next decade. But with Sabrina, silence. Absolute radio silence from the major networks. You have to ask yourself why. Why is the media protecting her? It goes back to the investment. Nike has poured millions into the Sabrina brand. The WNBA is in the middle of negotiating a new media rights deal that could be worth billions. They can't afford to have their stars looking vulnerable. They need them to look like superheroes. So the machine kicks in. They don't amplify the clip, they don't discuss it, they rely on the algorithm to bury it. But the internet is undefeated. The clip is circulating on Twitter, on TikTok, on forums where the die-hard basketball fans live, and the comments are brutal. We scraped the comment sections before they were moderated, and the sentiment is overwhelmingly skeptical. Fans are saying things like, they want NBA money but can't beat high school players, and this is why I don't watch. These are toxic comments, sure, but they represent a real sentiment that the league is failing to address. The WNBA is currently fighting a two-front war. On one front, they have the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, bringing in millions of new eyes. On the other front, they have the old guard and the established stars like Sabrina, who are supposed to be the standard bearers. When the standard bearer falters, it hurts the leverage of every other player in the league. How can you argue for a revenue split comparable to the men's game when the visual evidence suggests the product is inferior to high school boys basketball? That is the harsh, unfair conversation that this video has sparked. It is not about misogyny, it's about the market. The market pays for excellence and exclusivity. If the exclusivity is an illusion, the value drops. There's also a fascinating element of respect versus jealousy playing out here within the basketball community. For years, there has been a whispered criticism of the WNBA from the grassroots level. You hear it in AAU gyms, you hear it in barbershops. The idea that the WNBA is propped up by subsidies and marketing rather than organic demand. This video is being used as Exhibit A by the critics. It vindicates the people who say the talent pool isn't deep enough. And what is Sabrina's reaction? Silence. She hasn't addressed it, she hasn't laughed it off, she hasn't posted a good game, young fella tweet. That silence speaks volumes. It suggests embarrassment. It suggests she knows she got exposed. If she had laughed about it, it would have diffused the tension. By ignoring it, she has allowed it to become a conspiracy. It implies she takes herself too seriously to acknowledge a loss, or that her team is terrified of drawing more attention to it. Let's go deeper into the forensics of the video itself. Look at the timestamp. This happened during the off-season, a time when players are supposed to be refining their skills. Sabrina is known for her work ethic. We have heard the stories about her legendary workouts. So to see her look slow, to see her handle look loose, it contradicts the Mamba mentality she has adopted. The defender isn't just athletic, he is reading her. He knows her moves. This suggests her game has become predictable. In the WNBA, teams scout her, but she has a system around her. She has Jonquel Jones setting screens. She has Breanna Stewart drawing gravity. In a one-on-one isolation, she is naked. There is nowhere to hide. This exposes a flaw in her game that the New York Liberty coaching staff needs to be worried about. If an amateur can sit on her right hand and force a turnover, what is Kelsey Gray going to do to her in the playoffs? What is Kelsey Plum going to do to her? This isn't just a PR disaster, it's a scouting report. We also need to talk about the Nike aspect. Nike sponsors both the WNBA and the NBA. They are the puppet masters of basketball culture. They have a vested interest in making Sabrina Ionescu the face of the future. They designed her shoe to be unisex to appeal to hoopers of all genders. Seeing a male player in generic gear destroy the player wearing the signature shoe is a marketing nightmare. It kills the anyone can hoop in these vibe if the person wearing them is getting cooked. I would bet good money that there were frantic phone calls made from Beaverton, Oregon to the organizers of that event in Manila. Make sure that footage doesn't get out. Make sure we cut a highlight reel of her making shots. But the internet is undefeated. The clip is circulating on Twitter, on TikTok, on forums where the die-hard basketball fans live, and the comments are brutal. This incident also highlights the strange dichotomy of the WNBA fan base. You have the stans who will defend Sabrina no matter what, claiming the defender fouled her or that the floor was slippery. Then you have the haters who live for this content. But the middle ground, the casual fan, is the one being lost here. The WNBA cannot afford to lose the casual fan right now. They are riding a wave of momentum, and moments like this act as a breakwater. It stops the wave dead. It forces a recalibration of expectations. Maybe the league isn't as deep as we thought. Maybe the athleticism gap is wider than we want to admit. Think about the contrast with the Caitlin Clark narrative. Caitlin is currently being hazed by the entire league. She is being face-guarded, hard-fouled, and targeted every night, and she is fighting through it. The narrative around Caitlin is survival. The narrative around Sabrina was supposed to be dominance. But if Sabrina can't dominate an amateur and Caitlin is struggling to survive against pros, it paints a picture of a league that is chaotic and perhaps not as meritocratic as it claims. Are the veterans protecting their spots because they know they are vulnerable? Is the hostility toward rookies and new stars coming from a place of fear? If a high schooler can expose an all-star, then every veteran in the league is looking over their shoulder, wondering when their time is up. This video triggers that insecurity. It is a mirror that no one in the WNBA wants to look into. We must also consider the Filipino basketball culture context. The Philippines loves basketball. It is a religion there. The players are scrappy, quick, and physical. They don't care about your resume. They care about the ball. Sabrina walked into a lion's den thinking it was a petting zoo. She underestimated the heart of the local hooper. And that is a metaphor for the WNBA's approach to the global market. You cannot just show up and expect worship. You have to earn it on the court every single time. Respect is rented, and the rent is due every day. Sabrina missed a payment in Manila. The fallout from this is going to be subtle but long-lasting. You will see Sabrina working harder on her handle this summer. You will see Nike being much more careful about who she plays against in public. No more open runs, no more mixed one-on-ones. Everything will be curated. Everything will be safe. And that is a tragedy for the game. We want to see the best go against the best. We want to see the risk. But because the reaction to this loss has been so venomous, the walls are going to go up. The players will retreat further into their bubbles. The access will be cut off, and the fans will be left wondering what is real and what is manufactured. Ultimately, this story is about the fragility of stardom in the social media age. One clip can undo years of brand building. Sabrina Ionescu is still a great shooter. She is still a valuable WNBA player. But the aura of invincibility, that is gone. It was stripped away in a humid gym in the Philippines by a kid who just wanted it more. And the WNBA's attempt to ignore it only makes it more obvious. They are hoping you forget. They are hoping the news cycle moves on. But Basketball Spilled remembers. We archive the losses, just like we archive the wins. Because to understand the league, you have to look at the moments they try to hide. This was a moment of pure, unadulterated basketball reality, and it stung. So, where do we go from here? Does Sabrina bounce back and drop 40 in her next game to silence the doubters? Or does this seed of doubt grow? Does she lose confidence in her handle? Do opponents start pressing her higher, knowing she can be picked? The film is out there. The blueprint has been leaked, and it didn't come from a rival WNBA coach. It came from a high school kid with fast hands and nothing to lose. That is the beauty and the cruelty of the game. The ball doesn't lie, even when the marketing department really wants it to. This is a wake-up call for the WNBA. You want the big money? You want the global stage? You better be ready to defend your spot against the world, because the world is watching, and the world is ready to take the ball if you leave it exposed. This brings us back to the locker room confidential aspect. What are her teammates saying? What is Breanna Stewart saying in the group chat? You know the veterans are looking at this sideways. In a league where spots are so limited, where players are cut every year, seeing a franchise player get embarrassed like this breeds resentment. It fuels the "she's overrated" whispers. It validates the jealousy. It turns the locker room into a pressure cooker. Sabrina has to walk back into that locker room and lead. That is a tall task when everyone has seen the tape. She has to earn her respect back, not just from the fans, but from her peers. The soap opera continues, and the plot just got a lot thicker.